Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Philip Phillips, and I'm the Associate Dean of the University Honors College. I'm joined by Dean John Weil, the Honors College, and we welcome you to the Honors Lecture Series on global engagement. The Honors College is a place that celebrates diversity. It's a place that promotes inclusivity and global awareness. And it's a place that encourages all of its students to be involved in education abroad whenever possible. And we promote these things and we support them. And so those are some of the reasons why we are having the series that we're having this semester. Today, I'm very pleased to welcome our speaker, who is actually our second keynote speaker. Dr. David Schmidt is our Vice Provost of International Affairs here at MTSU. Before that, he served as Executive Director of International Programs and Services at University of the Pacific and Director of University of Wisconsin Systems Institute for Global Studies. He also served as Coordinator for Yale University Center for International and Area Studies, where he served as a faculty member for 8 years. Born and raised in Japan and South Korea, he's written extensively on post-World War II issues regarding women's rights and education in Japan and South Korea. Please join me today in welcoming Dr. Schmidt.
Is this on now, or do I? Okay, boy. Fantastic. Good afternoon, everyone. Please bear with me a little bit because I was traveling, no big surprise. And I was here last week, but I was sitting in the corner and I was suffering from a horrible cold. And then, of course, we have all the pollen and allergens here in this wonderful area. So please bear with me a little bit today. I'm still a little bit sniffly. It's definitely an honor to be able to speak with you this afternoon. I'd like to give a special thank you to the Honors College, Dean Weil, and in particular, Dr. Phillips, a colleague, a friend, a gentleman, and a scholar. Really a wonderful guy. So the title of my talk today is Nowhere and Everywhere is My Home. Travel and a Lifetime of Global Engagement. You know, when thinking about this title, and actually this title over the summer was suggested to me by Dr. Phillips. And so right when he said to me, well, you know, David, we know you've lived in many different places, you've traveled abroad to many different places. What about nowhere and everywhere? And the moment that Philip said nowhere, I thought of this very famous Manyoshu poem. Having been born in Japan, of course, this is something that I referenced immediately, but I also referenced something else. It's a very early punk rock band called The Replacements, Nowhere is My Home. Fabulous, fabulous band. Anyone know it? No? Well, these are things that you should build upon. But I see Dr. Ekita back there. She would know this for sure, right? Most definitely. But definitely at the end, if you look at this, and I'll explain a little bit about there, but nowhere is my home. Obviously, somewhere is my home. And I'll kind of reconcile that at the very end of this presentation. So what I thought I would do this afternoon, and what I plan to do, is to speak with you about the term global and a little bit about my own experience versus international, which, and international is very, very different. You all know that words matter, correct? So global is a little bit more diverse, more encompassing. International, much less so. And I really want to talk about why we're really now in this world moving to become more global. And at the end, I want to tell you why I hope that you, and I'm not giving out this just empty-handed flattery here, that you as starry-eyed and ever so bright college students will endeavor to become more global. This is what I mean by global. I mean worldwide, universal, unlimited, unbounded, and comprehensive. Versus what I had referred to previously, international. Global is many steps above. It is that higher level of consciousness. It's like saying, I like music, and I listen to everything I can, as opposed to saying, I like music, but I just listen to easy listening jazz and punk rock. Well, then you don't really like music. Or I understand music, but I only listen to these two types of music. Or I like food, but I only eat this and this. If you really like something, you try to get as much. You're never, ever satisfied. So, let's look at these two things. My father is from Germany. My mother is from Ireland. Both were exchange students. They met at the University of Wisconsin, where I went, because my father told me to. And as a result, we have over here, the country of Japan. I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story here, a little bit about myself. And unfortunately, I have to be very honest with you, is that telling you that talking about myself, I know this is hard to believe for an academic, talking about myself is akin to going to the dentist. I hate it, but I'm getting a little bit better at it. When I first came to the United States, the two things I had a very difficult time doing is, number one, looking at people in the eye when I talk to them. Number two, talking about myself. I've gotten a little bit better at looking at people in the eye. So I'm going to talk a little bit about myself, and well, here we are. My parents, okay? So, exchange students, Mother Nature takes hold, my brother, myself, my sister. My father, extremely strict Catholic. I mean, amazingly strict Catholic. So, let's put this into perspective. Strict Catholic, born and raised in Japan. Think of the neuroses I have. Irish mother. I mean, I do all the stereotypes. I always do the jokes about, please forgive me for this stereotype, but I'm never late for a movie, a theater. And you can ask my wife, I am never late. If we get there and the previews have started, we won't go in. I'm too afraid, number one, I'll feel guilty. And oftentimes, being Irish, I'm partially drunk. So there, we've just gotten rid of all the stereotypes, okay? If you wish to explore these neuroses and idiosyncrasies I have more, you're welcome to speak with my wife. I'm sure she'll tell you a lot about it. So, during my lifetime, and I went through this is an amazing little interactive map that you can fill out, Map Loco or something like that. I've visited, anyone want to take a gander at how many countries we have here? That are colored in, that I've been to, that I've visited? Very close. At first I had 58. There's actually 59. So 59 different countries that I have visited during my lifetime, and I have lived in 8 different states during my short, ever so short life. I'll explain to you how old I am later. So, and I should say that these 59 do not include the little airport stopover, where we change planes. It does not. This is actual visiting and staying for a brief period or an extended period. So apart from having a rather fortunate, or, if I may borrow that southern term, blessed life, what this nomadic and global life has provided me, especially at this age, when I feel I can more clearly and wisely look back upon my experiences, are some very simple things. Probably wondering where I'm going, right? Anyone know the date? 1974, August 9th. Okay? August 9th in the US, August 10th, East Asia. So my father and I and my older brother are in Hong Kong. And I remember this vividly because I remember seeing this on television. We didn't have cable back then, of course. In hotels, you had rabbit ears. I knew it was very obvious how my parents felt about President Nixon. It's probably where I learned some of my good swear words. But it was very obvious how they felt about this man. So I remember it vividly because my brother and I were walking with my father, and airports were very different back then. Travel wasn't open to everyone. There was no security. You simply went to the plane, you gave your ticket, and you got on the plane. But I remember walking with my father, and my brother and I saw this group of people that were just sitting on the side, along with some bags, not really suitcases, but very, very brightly colored people. And my brother made this horrible mistake of saying to my father, "Hey, Dad, what race are those people?" Oh, and my father stopped dead in his tracks. And this was a very stern Catholic German. And he turned and he grabbed both of us. And he kind of gave us a little bit of a shake. And he said, "Boys, there's only one race, the human race. Everything else is culture." And I'll never forget that. Kind of because he shouted it and I was a little bit embarrassed. But it really, really stuck with me. I found this, along with several other pontifications and lessons from my father, to be very essential guidelines in going through life, and in particular in becoming more global. For culture and its many conduits, language, music, food, literature, dance, art, and most of all, people, is what I have an appreciation, a love of, and a fascination with. I can tell you that when I moved from California to this part of the country, I was so enamored with the way people speak, the food. I remember the first time I had lard. I went back, well, I didn't know they were cooking it in lard. It's down at Clearview. Someone took me for lunch down to Clearview, and I ate the meat and threes or whatever it was. I came back to my desk, and I could not stay awake. And for me, this was a totally new culture, a culture that I had heard about, I'd read about, I had actually fallen in love with as a child because of my father's love of William Faulkner. And so, of course, it was like me going to Mecca. I took the trip over to Oxford, and I was just in heaven. But this is a place I've also fallen in love with because I've fallen in love with the people and the culture. In addition to the importance of culture, though, one of my father's mantras was to speak less and listen more. And perhaps this was his way of subtly telling us not to talk back or question his lectures, but I do think it was really more in line with stressing the importance of listening, observing, taking in, and learning before speaking, and certainly before judging. Perhaps this is no more evident than last Friday's tweet by President Trump. Now, I can critique the president as you can critique the president, but I think this is a real valid critique. You remember what happened in London, in the Tube, on Friday morning our time. Another attack in London by a loser terrorist. These sick and demented people who were in the sights of Scotland Yard must be proactive. I mean, seriously, the British politicians had to go out right away and say, well, he's kind of putting the cart before the horse. Please, please sit back, listen. Just because you have a Twitter account, is it a Twitter account? Twitter? Obviously, I don't have one. Just because you have a Twitter account doesn't mean you actually have something important to say. It really is so much better to sit back, observe, listen, and then make a very calculated, wise comment. Sometimes that comment and what you should say really shouldn't even be said until you get to be 52 years old. Certain things that you shouldn't comment on, okay? Or perhaps at a more complicated and layered degree, the reaction regarding what is going on now between Myanmar and with the Rohingya. So this is something, I want to talk a little bit about two significant Nobel Peace Prize recipients, Malala and Aung San Suu Kyi. And please mind you, when I talk about this, I am not in the least commenting on the veracity of the flight or the charges of ethnic cleansing. Rather, I am giving you a critical response within the concept of global engagement to the reaction by these two Nobel Prize recipients. So, I don't know if you know, but young Malala has a Twitter account, and she called to task right down here. Over the last several years, I have repeatedly condemned this tragic and shameful treatment. I'm still waiting for my fellow Nobel laureate, Aung San Suu Kyi, to do the same. The world is waiting, and the Rohingya Muslims are waiting. Once again, please, I am not commenting on whether or not this is true. So, whereby Suu Kyi has remained uncharacteristically silent, the youthful Malala has taken to Twitter on 9/03, calling out her fellow laureate on her silence. My comment is this. I think that experience and wisdom, which please understand is very separate from age and education, will accord and afford Malala a better perspective to empathize that perhaps there is a deeper more complicated reason why Suu Kyi, who spent 1989 to 2010 under brutal house arrest, did not or cannot comment. I think you get my point. Okay? Now this is a very disturbing kind of comment on, making ourselves feel better just because we tweet. I mean, please do not, this is quite embarrassing. I really felt bad for Malala. But, she's been accepted to Oxford. I think she started last week, so perhaps she'll get a little bit better at getting critical thinking skills. I would like to momentarily then return to the notion of culture and how it relates to globalization. As the world becomes more interconnected and universal, it also brings to light and allows us to celebrate and experience more cultures. I've always loved observing different cultures and customs through the context of there is no right and there is no wrong. There are only different ways of doing things. I do not, however, buy into the full approach of cultural relativism, as I strongly believe that there are absolutes. There are, and these are the things that you should look for and you should be strongly committed to. But I've tempered this with an appreciation of all this world has to offer. So, within your role as a university student, where are these opportunities, these experiences to be exposed to different cultures, to sit back and to become more of a global citizen? And here I'll diverge briefly back to Dr. McKay's presentation last week, which I think many of you were here listening to that, and remind you of her comment that you do not have to travel halfway around the world to make a difference. Remember how she said that? A lot of people were asking, well, can we do this? Can we do that? And well, you can just look in your local community and make a change. And I agree. I mean, I'd be a fool not to. But building upon that, I will add that you are a small, small minority when you look at this world. Students that are able to attend a prestigious university and to have this opportunity. You are just a small percentage of the people in this world that have this opportunity. So please take advantage of the opportunity you now have to be a better healthcare provider, a lawyer, a scientist, whatever you choose, by traveling abroad. It is the only way you can become global. Whatever you choose, you have to go abroad. It will help you to better understand the differences, to better empathize and contextualize. It will help you to become truly global. All right. So in all of my travels, perhaps the most important takeaway is an appreciation for what I have here at home. And for someone who has entitled this presentation, Nowhere and Everywhere is My Home, this is something that I've yet to fully reconcile, at least here in front of you. I'm going to at the very end. But I would be remiss if I did not make a strong and passionate plea for you to travel abroad, especially in my position here. I'm the Vice Provost for International Affairs. I oversee the Office of Study Abroad. But I can tell you this, it's not easy. Nothing in life that is good ever is. But I can assure you this, it will be the best thing you ever do for yourself, during your college career in particular. And I take this as a quote from a young woman who went abroad years ago and came back and she summarized that experience to me just like that. This was the best thing I ever did for myself. There's a quote right here that education is one of the best ways to put a university's mission into action, to train young people and cultivate their gifts for the betterment of society and the world. I would change this. I would take out this. I would say it is the best way. And I firmly believe that. Obviously, you're going to do 3.5 years or even 4 years, but do a summer abroad. Go abroad. The opportunity is there. If not now, when? When you graduate, life starts to grab you. You fall in love, you have children, you start to work, and you can't do it. You just can't do it. So please, do it now. And I'll say this. I've been doing this now for 24 years, sending students abroad or having contact with students going abroad. well, let me put it this way. When you get to be my age, and you reflect upon your undergraduate days, you're not going to say, oh, I was in this wonderful sorority, or I was in this great frat, or the football team or basketball team did well. That doesn't matter. You're going to say one of two things, and I will bet you well, this is being videotaped, I better not do that. I'm convinced of this. You will say one of two things. If you studied abroad, you will say, this university gave me the opportunity to go abroad, and that changed my life. Or you will say, and this is what so many people said, there was a professor, or I regret, yeah, but there was a professor that changed my life. Those are the two things. But yeah, definitely, if you do not go abroad, you will regret it. You read my slide beforehand, young lady. 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things that you didn't do than by the ones you did. And so often I hear that by older people saying, yeah, I had this opportunity to study abroad, but I didn't do it. Please, do it. So, that sounds all good and dandy, right? Why should you do it? I mean, it's really easy for me to stand up here. It's part of my job, right, to tell you guys to go abroad. And for years, we've had these wonderful anecdotal stories of, the students have come back and they've changed, and you can just see it in the way. More women in the United States study abroad than men do. It's 65 to 35. So my theory is that women are more brave than men. And please, this is just to make an example. I've seen many girls decide to go abroad. They come back and they are women. And they decide to go out and change the world. And when they would come into my office and just the way they held themselves and their attitude, study abroad is the silver bullet. It's the magic pill. And it's counterintuitive to what you and most of your parents probably think. True or false? Students who study abroad graduate at a faster matriculation rate than students who do not. Very true. It's because it's that woman who comes back into my office and says, I'm going to grad school. I want to work for UNICEF. I want to go out and change the world. I discovered myself when I went overseas. They get higher GPAs when they come back. True. They have better retention rates. True. It is the silver bullet. So the question is, are these just the gifted young kids that are selecting to go to study abroad, or does it have some intrinsic value that changes them? To be honest, I could care less. All I know is it works. Okay? So please, go abroad. So, as I said, we've always had this kind of anecdotal, these stories, the feel-good of, no one's going to say, don't study abroad, right? Well, maybe now with the world becoming a more dangerous place, somebody might. But for the most part, we now have actual data. So when I was working for the University of the Wisconsin system, which is 26 different campuses, University of Wisconsin and the University of Georgia system teamed up. And we looked at people for 15 years, students who went abroad, looking at them compared to students who didn't go abroad. It's an extensive study. It's called GEO. And if you want to look it up online, I can give you the thing, the website. But these are just some of the statistics that we found over the past 15 years. So academic achievement, 87% claim that study abroad influenced subsequent educational experiences. 86% said that it reinforced commitment to foreign language study. 80% reported an enhanced interest in academic study. 52% attained graduate degrees. Of those, 15% a PhD, EDD, JD, or medical degree. I doubt that those people thought that they were going to go into that area or get that degree prior to going abroad. It does something. It's something very magical. By the way, how many of you have studied abroad already? I'm preaching to the choir. So you guys are the creme de la creme. Cultural development. 98% reported that the study abroad experience helped them to better understand their own cultural values and biases. 94% stated that the experience continues to influence their interactions with people from different cultures. And I think we can add in a very positive way, correct? 90% said that studying abroad influenced them to seek out greater diversity of friends. Career impact. 76% reported that they acquired skill sets while studying abroad that influenced their career path. 62% said that studying abroad ignited an interest in a career direction pursued after the experience. And 48% said that they worked internationally or participated in volunteer activities since studying abroad. And once again, I think this is one of these things where when you go abroad, you really get a better appreciation for what you actually have, because you're actually able to really globally compare. And personal growth. 97% reported that studying abroad served as a catalyst for increased maturity. 96% indicated that it increased self-confidence. 95% stated that it had a lasting impact on their worldview. And 89% said studying abroad enabled them to better tolerate ambiguity. I mean, you're really going to be hard-pressed to find anything else that you can do during your college career that can give you these types of results. Right? I mean, I challenge my colleagues, I challenge people all the time. You tell me something else that can do this much and is that simple. Anyone? Doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Okay, guys. Sorry, we'll get to that one. Okay, so this is really lofty goals. Since I know that a lot of you guys studied abroad already, I really won't belabor this too much. But these are rather lofty goals, right? Studying abroad. What's the biggest reason people tell me they can't study abroad? Yeah, money. Money, I love that one. So, lofty goals for those who can't afford it, not so much. International travel has become more democratized over the last 20 years. And so, as both a lifetime traveler and one who has seen thousands of university students dip their toes in the water, drink the Kool-Aid to become lifelong travelers, it has much less to do with money, and it has everything to do with two things: commitment and priorities. If you want to go abroad, you'll go abroad. And anytime someone tries to tell me that only the rich kids go abroad, I can pull the stats, because we know the students here who go abroad, and we know what your FAFSA file is, and it is not true. It is the students that are fully committed to going abroad that go abroad. So, whenever I hear a student tell me that, or anyone, that they can't study abroad, it really means they don't want to. And I'm reminded always of my father's constant lecturing, detailing the difference between a reason and an excuse. I've consciously used the word traveler and not tourist because there's a huge difference. I'm not proud of this, but I do want to tell you something a little bit about my travels. But I'm telling you this really to demonstrate, not just as a generational divide, I think, between my generation and your generation, but really what I fear is becoming a myopic global divide. In all of those travels, well, first of all, I don't have a camera, and I really don't take pictures. So I really have no pictures of my travels, except for two pictures I have of myself. One is at the Great Wall. I'm wearing a Yankees hat. I look like an idiot. And then one is in the Forbidden City. And I think it was with a colleague of mine I was traveling with, and he took the pictures. I've never taken a selfie. I can't imagine taking a picture of myself with the Mona Lisa in the back. I don't quite get it. I mean, if I want to see a picture of the Mona Lisa, I go and I look at it. So I was really, I don't know if you could hear me in the back last week, but I just could not stop laughing to myself when Dr. McKay showed this picture. Do you remember when she was talking about this? This was from The Onion, by the way. You don't want to see the percentage of your generation that can't discern between real news and The Onion news, okay? This is hilarious. But it really is a strong comment. Travel for yourself, folks, please. You're doing this to build upon yourself, not to impress your friends, not to impress others. Really, okay? But God, that's a funny article. Did you guys see this one? All right. So, travel and exposure to that which is different and that which is unknown forces us to realize our strengths and, more importantly, our weaknesses. It deliberately forces you to realize how much you know, but more importantly, how much you have yet to learn. All right. And I do truly believe this. I mean, everyone knows Farid, right? if you watch CNN Global GPS. So back to that initial question of home, and especially for me, a guy who gets the itch all the time to get up and leave and go to a new place and really doesn't have much as far as material belongings, but what he can fit in the back of his car and flee. Home is not where you're from, it is where you belong. Some of us travel the whole world to find it, others find it in a person. So back to that initial question, like I said, in reflecting upon all of my travels, and I use this term because I really do believe I found somewhat of a home here in the South. Every time I say that, people from the South are like shocked. I always tell them I love the South. I've fallen in love with it. Much to my wife's chagrin, she wants to move back to San Francisco, but it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I have been blessed by a lifetime of experiences, and yet I feel as if I've only scratched the surface of this amazingly global iceberg. While I do get the occasional itch to move on, to see and experience more, I know that my home, no matter where I am, is really at the end of it where the heart and the family reside. And I know that sounds a bit corny, home is where the heart is. But for me, I can live in Murfreesboro, San Francisco, Taipei. I'm content to be wherever my family is. Back to that question, or that quote, education is the best way to put a university's mission into action to train young people and cultivate their gifts for the betterment of society and the world. I hope that you, no matter how you select to contribute to this world, and it doesn't have to be in this huge global, vast impact. It can be the little village that we live in now, or it can just be your home, your family. But you'll grant yourself the opportunity to see more of this world and what it has to offer. I hope that you truly hunger to see, hear, taste, and touch all the world has. Like I said, I've been blessed to do it, but it isn't that it was all handed to me. I mean, you have to make priorities and sacrifices. So, thank you. Oh, my one suggestion, please. Once a year, go someplace you've never been before.
Excellent advice. Well, we have time for questions, so I'm sure Dr. Schmidt would be pleased to respond to questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you think that a tourist is a passive traveler, and that if you're going to study abroad, you should be more active in self-reflecting and in trying to become a better person?
I think that most learning takes place when you reflect. And I think you should be proactive, go out and enjoy your travel, and then when you get back, you'll reflect upon it. I think I, too, proactively took travel for granted when I was young, and now that I reflect upon it, much like your parents, right? It's not until you leave home, you have to do your own laundry, and you have to cook for yourself, that you go back to your mother and say, my God, I love you. Thank you so much for everything you did. Because when you don't have those things anymore. But I also think part of it, you change on your perspectives with age. The way I travel now is much different than how I used to travel. Because I'm getting older, obviously. And for the first time ever, my wife and I did something very different. We used to go and we'd try to do 4 days in different large cities or countries. And this last March, we went to London and we spent about 10 days just in London, enjoying it. And we found that to be extremely enjoyable. But now she wants to go to Stockholm, Helsinki, St. Petersburg, and Moscow. So she's got this new plan for me. So I gotta take my vitamins. So I hope I answered your question. Okay. Yes, sir?
How would you go about navigating language barriers with different countries?
Great question. Well, first of all, I think almost everyone should try to learn a second language. And I think foreign language is held to a different criteria than other things, especially when you talk to parents. Well, I think your daughter should study Cantonese, or your son should study Arabic. Well, 2 years and they're not going to be fluent. Well, that may not be the goal, fluency. It may be a window into understanding that culture and the way of doing things. You don't take one semester of physics and think that you're a physicist, right? So it's a different criteria. I think that, to be honest, you can get by with a smile in most countries very easily. And as much as you know that people have differences, we have a lot of commonalities. I mean, people almost everywhere are very kind and very proud of their cultures. And if you express a very genuine interest in it, they'll show you the world. I am not one who believes in the concept of the ugly American. There might have been an ugly American back in the 70s when Americans were out in bulk traveling, but I've seen groups of ugly every nationality. It just means that people are in a group, they're loud, and sometimes they're having a good time. But for the most part, I've seen people that are, most Americans are very good global travelers, students in particular. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
So with the increase of English as a second language rising throughout the world, really, what are your thoughts on university students maybe taking the opportunity in those jobs that exist right after graduation? What are your thoughts on that?
I smile because I get asked that question a lot. And I can give you the real simple, well, it's a great opportunity and this and that. It's a great opportunity if you realize what it is. And what it is you're going over to work for a large corporation either in China, Japan, or Seoul, South Korea, and they're going to pay you just enough to maybe eat, rent, and go to a movie every now and then, but it's a dead-end street. If you want the experience, fine, as long as you know what it is. It's not really going to catapult into anything else. But it's a great way to, experience another culture. I really do.
If I could add to that, if you want to do that, another way to do it is to apply for a Fulbright fellowship and to teach English in another country, or to be invited to conduct research in another country.
I think if you are going to, or if anyone is interested in doing that, please properly vet the company or properly vet the agents that you're working with. Make sure you can talk to other students. Always talk to other students who've gone on it. They'll give you the straight dope or whatever it's called. Yes, sir.
Tell us a little bit about, you said money shouldn't be an obstacle, but for those particularly who have very practical-minded parents who are sometimes footing the bill, tell us what the primary places one might go to decrease costs or to get support for study.
I think first and foremost, what you should look at for a study abroad program is, kind of narrow it down. How long do you want to be gone? Do you want to go on a semester program, a full year program? And what's the objective? If it's foreign language study and you want to really immerse yourself, then that's going to be a little bit more difficult. But money should probably be the third or fourth question you ask yourself. Once you say time, then you say, okay, what's the best program that complements my academic program? If you come into the Office of Education Abroad and you say, hey, I'm a senior and I don't have any more electives left and I've always wanted to go to Italy because I've heard it's got great food and blah, 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 they'll probably say, just a moment, I'm going to call Dr. Schmidt. He'll come down and yell at you. That will drive us crazy. We are not a tourist organization. I mean, if you want to go to Italy, then go to Italy. Don't pay for the academic part of it. But they'll work with the Office of Education Abroad. They'll get the right program. If you say, look, I'm going to be upfront with you. I want to go abroad for a summer program. I'm concrete industry management. I'm aerospace. And money is a huge problem. They'll start to work out with budget. I mean, for MTSU students, money is a huge problem. That was my biggest eye-opening experience when I came here from California. We have a very different demographic. So, and I would highly advocate the signature programs. The MTSU signature programs that are run by the faculty, and be very upfront. I mean, say, Dr. Phillips, I really want to go on this program, but money is an issue. What are some scholarships? I mean, oftentimes, Dr. Phillips will call me and say, hey, I got this great gifted student. We need an additional, whatever the cost. We want you to go abroad. We want to make it happen.
And there is money available.
Yeah, there is.
All of our students, in fact, who've gone on the honors in Italy and who are going on the honors in Thailand are getting some kind of aid.
Yes. And I should say this. I mean, obviously, it's just, this. The further away you go, the more expensive it is. The longer you're away, the more expensive it is. If you're going to Australia or Thailand, the airfare alone is upwards to $1,800 to $2,100, whereas if you're going to Costa Rica, you can get it sometimes for $600, $700, $800. Okay? That's why we have grandparents. That's why we have part-time jobs. That's why we don't buy $1,000 iPhones. Back to priorities. I still have a BlackBerry. I'm very proud of my BlackBerry, by the way.
Other questions? Anything about the talk or about study abroad?
I realize this might be, or it's probably a conflict of interest since you try to get people to do study abroad for your job. But do you think that it's more worth it to do study abroad or to just go abroad by yourself as a student? Because I know that, especially when you're saying the divide between your generation and ours, often when people go with a group of students, they kind of stay within their own like cultural, I guess, echo chamber, if you will. And some people don't necessarily open up to the country and have other people to keep them from doing so.
I guess it depends on the student or the person. I mean, I know you went abroad this last summer, if I'm not mistaken, and you probably now want to take the opportunity to kind of travel by yourself. And I think for some MTSU students or for some college students, the chance to go abroad with an MTSU faculty, the first step is getting a passport. I mean, some have not been beyond the state of Tennessee. I'm not judging, but I'm saying, please, you have this wonderful opportunity to now go abroad. And once you catch that bug, it follows you for the rest of your life. You want to see how much beauty and wonderful things there are in this world.
Speaking of passports, we do have a passport day. So any of our students who are planning to study abroad, we offer some financial support for getting that first passport.
We actually have the passport people come here.
Yeah,
To take
here
your
in the
picture
Honors
and
College.
fill out. We do it once a year, spring, I believe, but don't quote me on that.
And actually, back to your question too about English. To me, one of the things I enjoy the most is being in a country where I don't speak the language and I just sit on the train or I sit in a coffee shop and I watch the interaction between old people, young people, men, women, husbands, wives, teenagers. I just love observing that and seeing things. The only time in my life I received what you would, I guess, classify as culture shock. Anyone guess where I was? And I really thought, okay, I'm freaking out now. I'm having culture shock. Nope. It is such an amazing country. India. Smells, sights, sounds, the caste system, gender, I mean, so many different languages. Yeah, it was amazing. And very interesting trip. But I fell in love with that country. I love it. So, did you get it too? Did you get culture shock too?
I haven't been to India.
Okay, be prepared.
But I think in a country where even if you have a background in studying foreign languages, if you go to a country whose language system is completely different, that can be disorienting. Like going to Poland, for example.
Yeah.
You know, I studied French and Latin. They use the Roman alphabet, but it's completely different. So you think that you would be able to make words out, and you can't. And it's humbling. Or to go to Korea or Japan.
Humbling and exciting, because I think, all of us love different food, right? Don't be picky. Try whatever's in front of you. Be an explorer. Be an adventurer.
And that's one of the best things, too.
Yeah.
Food.
What's been your favorite country?
Probably Germany. I love the food. Yeah, I love the food. So you should see me when I come back from Germany. I've gained about 20. Beer and sausages, my wife claims I could live on, and probably could. But I really do love Germany. But I also, to be very, very honest, I love the United States. Fascinating place. Two of I think the most beautiful places in the world are in the United States. One is Lake Tahoe. The first time I saw Lake Tahoe, I was literally speechless. I've never seen something so blue, so deep, and the smell and the crisp air. But then I saw the Smoky Mountains. And wow. I thought Tahoe looked like a small pond. The Smoky Mountains are so beautiful. And it's right that way. It's very close. So if you haven't seen the Smokies, go and see them, please. Didn't take a picture of it, but I got it up here. Okay.
Any other questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Now that you mentioned that you rarely take pictures, what would you recommend if not pictures, what would you recommend is the best way to record experiences?
Just soak it all in. Seriously. I mean, I really don't feel that I've ever missed anything. I'm sure years from now my hard drive up here will start to fail me, but I did this for myself, to make myself better and to enjoy it. I don't need to show off to everyone and show them my pictures. My wife does take pictures now of a lot of our travels, and I will admit this, I do like it when she's going through them. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. She has this thing now that most of the cities I'm in, I'll hold up a mug of the beer, and she says, I've never seen you so happy in your life. And that's great for memory. So I'm not a no picture person, but I just think that when you're sitting there observing the Eiffel Tower or Big Ben, that snapping off shots and looking at reality through the lens of your iPhone, there's something wrong with it. I can't put my finger on it, and I don't want to sound like an old fuddy-duddy in this generational gap, but you know, experience life for real, or temper the two, balance the two.
Especially in the art galleries.
Yes.
There are some places like the Uffizi or the Louvre where tons of people are taking photographs of the art, and it's difficult to enjoy the experience.
And if you are in the Louvre and you're taking a picture of something and you're texting it back to your friends here at Murfreesboro, they didn't take that trip. They're not going to understand. They're just going to think you're in some museum somewhere else. And they're lost. You're game. Right?
Travel journals are good too.
Yeah, what about writing?
Yeah.
Talk to Dr. Phillips. He'll give you some assignments, I'm sure of it.
I've read some beautiful journal entries from our trips with my students.
Yeah, I think any way you remember it is good. So I don't want to sound like a no picture guy. So just I can't take a picture, and every time I do, it's got like a thumb in it or it's all out of focus. So it's probably a reason I don't take pictures.
Other questions about the presentation? Anything about traveling? Anything about study abroad? All right.
Thank you, guys.